So the relationship between business model and business architecture within the TOGAF is that business model create alignment for achieving business strategy. So we need to deliver or realize the business strategy that has been set by the business. And of course, business architecture also articulate the different perspective and impact on the business model. So we know about architecture, about the impact. If you change this, which are the processes impacted, which are the function impacted, which are the data impacted, which are the application impacted. I want to get the answer instantly. So if you don't have the enterprise architecture set up properly, your team will be scrambled to give the answer to the business or even to the stakeholders. But if you have the architecture properly, it's just a click of the button to get this answer. And of course, business architecture break the business model down into the core functional element that describe how the business works. So how do we use business model in the TOGAF standard? That we need to bridge the gap between strategy and architecture. That's why we need to have the business model. And of course, we need to improve the alignment on the architecture to the strategy. And also we need to validate the strategy of the business. Because in the past, is that business come out a very beautiful strategy. After that, when they pass it to the internal team scramble their head. How can we deliver this? How can we realize this strategy? That's why architecture is bridging this aspiration. How do we realize the strategy? And also we need to increase the knowledge and the value of architect to the organization. This is very, very important because I have also come across many architecture team actually being dismissed because they don't deliver value. Quite sad, isn't it? They actually is the now what I would call is the backbone of the enterprise. Without the enterprise architecture, I think the enterprise is very hard to survive after knowing what EA is about, because struggling doing it with the manual work, with the Excel spreadsheet. In today's era is that everything is a click of the button. It's like you want to manage the whole inventory warehouse for the global distribution by Excel spreadsheet. It's just can be done. Yes, you can. You need 1,000 people just to manage the Excel spreadsheet, but we only have 2 persons. So how do we go about delivering that value? And of course, business model can be a key input to the TOGAF business architecture. Again, touching the TOGAF ADM. And of course, be part of the architecture vision, which is at the top, phase A of the TOGAF ADM. So phase A is about the vision. Phase B about developing a business architect, typically where the EA journey started. So in the phase A, we are looking at analyzing the stakeholders, who are their concern, objective, and what are their key business requirements. Of course, you might ask, what do you mean by concern? Concerns mean what makes your bosses, perhaps your CEO, cannot sleep at night. So if architects able to address that, we need to understand what makes him cannot sleep at night. What are your concerns? What are your analyses? What are your worry? What are your issues? If we can address that, in fact, I have done that for one of the major hospital. The CEO, they said, wow, finally you guys understand, can read my mind, what I have in mind in the last 15 years. You need to do this type of modeling. Then from there, we validate again the goal, driver, the limitation of the company. You want to earn the seat in the senior management, in the board of director, you need to have this skill. Otherwise, you cannot talk TCP/IP, you cannot talk Java or .NET to the board of director. Well, that's your IT problem. You solve it. Now, I got the business urgent need. I got the business driver. I got the business concern. I got the business challenges. How enterprise architecture can help me addressing this? So this is the impact, the power of the business architecture. And of course, what are the new capability? Maybe we know that all of that because we are lacking on a particular capability. So how can we enhance this capability? Then we also need to formulate the architecture based on the business principle. Then after that, we also need to look at the architecture project value proposition. Why do we need to embark on the $20 million project? So why can't we save that money? How are the company spending 20 million? What is the return they will get? So this is a choice to make. So architecture show that value. Let me give you a real example. I conducted the class a few years back. So what happened is that they have a CFO, Chief Financial Officer, attending the enterprise architecture training. So during the introduction, we asked everybody what are your experience and what are your expectations, etc. So this guy is very unique. So he said that he come to this training because IT is under his portfolio, under the CFO, and his job is that he need to reduce the IT budget year on year. So he said he has cut so many IT budget and non-necessary IT requests to the bare minimum. But he said that the cost is still very, very high. And I want to cut more next year. That's why he attend this training. Hopefully this training can give him some insight on how to cut IT budget more. Of course, everybody in the class laughing. Well, I would agree and disagree. I would agree if your IT team doesn't deliver value. But I would disagree if your IT team delivering a value. Of course, fast forward after we finish the course. So we do a checkup, asking everybody what have you learned, whether this course is relevant to your organization, how can you practice it. So come to my surprise that he said that he was wrong in the last 6 years. He only looked IT at cost. He never looked IT at value. Imagine like investment. If you know the stock market going up next week, what would you do? You borrow the money, you cash in all your deposit, you buy the stock. Why? Next week going to increase. But if you think going to drop, you also don't want to buy. But the issue, of course, there are two prongs on this. The first, CFO doesn't understand the value of IT. To him, it's the cost center. And the second problem is that the IT team also don't know how to communicate value. A big issue that I face in many situations. So to them is that no money. I'm asking the budget 2 million. The CFO said 2 million. I give you 200,000. You ask 200,000. The CFO said I give you 2,000 because don't know how to communicate value. So fast forward after we helped to train the team 6 months later. I come and discovered from the team, I said, how is our Mr. CFO? How is he dealing? Because I heard that he has been cutting IT budget. So the team told me he is a different guy now. He never looked IT at cost. He looked at the value. Meaning he set the benchmark of the 400% value. Meaning if you ask the IT budget for 1 million, the CFO will be very upset. That means you only deliver 4 million. Why don't you ask 10 million? You can see the people perspective change. After understanding the value, he said, why are you asking so little? So this type of mindset change is very, very significant. So we need to be able to educate not only for IT team, but also the business people. Both need to know. Otherwise, even you delivering value, but you don't know how to communicate, it's also difficult. So the next one in the phases C and D. So C is about the application, about the technology. So basically it's about how the business model help the application, data and technology architect maintain the orientation of the architecture to support the organization's strategic goal and value. This is very key. E and F is where you shortlist all the candidates for the IT project. This is typically done by the PMO. So we are looking at what are the current gaps that we need to do, what are the projects that we need to do. So this is where we come out the architecture roadmap, and we also know the impact, the traceability to the organization strategy. So even at the project level, we know that our project is fulfilling the strategy of the key stakeholders. This is where you are showing the value. Otherwise, the project will just get terminated halfway because we don't have this ability. So I hope I give you an overview of the TOGAF because we are going to use this topic into the key terminology in business architecture.